Yo dudes, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Duty's Daggers, and we're doing a cut test with the Cold Steel Recon 1. This is a big, badass knife gifted to me by my buddy Nate. And he wanted me to do a test video on it. And I already wanted to anyways, so it worked out perfectly. This is an S35 VN blade steel. Like I said, it's a big old knife. You can see in my grip there, it's massive. I wouldn't say massive. It's big. It's definitely big. Not the sliciest blade ever. The blade stock is not ridiculously thick, not too thin either. This is really a hard use knife. You know, it's not going to be the sliciest. I really love the DLC coating on the blade. I love how it's kind of a shiny DLC. So we're starting with the factory edge that I stropped up real nice. We're cutting paper with ease. So let's see how the edge holds up. This is going to be a little bit of a more rigorous test than I usually do. We're going to do most of the regular stuff, but then we're going to get a little crazy with it as well. Starting with the regular thickness cardboard. I should mention this is, it's not a back lock. It's a similar mechanism as a back lock, but this is Cold Steel's, I believe it's called the Triad lock, which is supposedly a lot stronger than a regular back lock. And the lockout is rock solid on this knife. Even after all the testing I did, absolutely rock solid. So still on the regular cardboard. Slicing through really easy, just like you'd expect. Most knives on this regular cardboard do just fine. Now the double thickness cardboard. A little bit of a more difficult cut to push through. And it really does fine. You kind of need a little bit of a sawing motion to get the cut started, and then once it's started you can just push, usually just straight down, and it cuts it just fine. So that was good. Let's cut some paper, see where we're at. Throughout this whole video, my paper's all kind of a little bit wet, so it was really annoying. I didn't have any nice crisp paper, so keep that in mind. But we're still cutting through fairly easily. I could tell I already lost a little bit of bite, though. Here I'm trying it with a little bit more of a new piece of paper, I thought, but no, not really. Alright, moving on to the glove test. This is a test where I bunch up the glove, so it's got a bunch of layers, and then I cut through it. It cut through pretty easily. A little bit more of a sawing motion was needed to get through it than on some knives. Some knives it's just like one full push through the length of the blade, and it's all the way through. This one I had to go back and forth like twice. But you can see how many layers of leather is in there. It's quite a bit. This test dulls the edge pretty significantly, usually. Now the strap. This is a wide strap. Most knives don't cut through it all the way. It's more of a test of sliding out of a cut rather than the sharpness. Here we go. And you can see I slid out of the cut before I made it all the way through. About a ½ inch, maybe a little more left over there. That's usually the case. I've only tested like 1 or 2 knives that was able to cut all the way through this. And like I said, it's not really a sharpness thing. It's more having to do with the shape of the blade and how it slides out of cuts. This blade has some good belly on it, so I think that's why we're slipping out. There we go. I can tell we're losing some sharpness here. Back to the paper. We're having a tough time here. If you go real fast at the right angle, it will cut. But not like before. Definitely not like before. Before we started, I mean. Now the polypropylene rope, the hard plastic rope that's really quite difficult for knives to get through. Let's see how it does. First try, Nope. Second try. Nope. Third try. Nope. Did not make it within the 3 tries. It got close. It cut 2 of the 3 kind of larger strands in there. Back to the paper, and we're dull, man. We're getting pretty dull. As far as cutting paper, you know, obviously this will still chop stuff. It'll still, it's still, I would still call it a fairly workable edge. But as far as like, you know, bitey sharp, hair shaving sharp, cutting through paper sharp, not really. I'm going to do a little strapping here and see if I can get it back fairly quickly. Usually S35VN straps back fairly quickly. Not as quickly as some steels, but not doesn't take as long as like M390 or 20CV. So giving it a little bit of a strap here. I wanted to get some of the edge back before I start on some of the more rigorous tests. Because, you know, we can see we're already not cutting the paper. There I kind of got a good angle, but it's just not cutting paper. I keep trying to get it to go through, but it's just not, you know. Even with the soggy paper, if it was a nice keen edge, it would slice easily. So a little more strap in here. You know, this is a beefcake of a knife. It's a hard use knife, you know. Locking mechanism is one of the strongest in existence. Ergonomics are really, really nice. I've tried a few of these larger cold steels, and some of them are quite thin. This one, however, is a bit thicker, so it fills out your hand a lot better. You got kind of a choke up spot, a little bit of a flat spot above the kind of the primary index finger choil, so that you can get closer to the edge if you wanted to. But really choked back, putting your index finger in that big choil, and then middle finger in the kind of the secondary one behind that. Really quite comfortable. Don't feel the clip at all. Very, very, very good ergonomically. It's a clip point blade, which is usually not my thing, but it's kind of a, you know, it's got a lower tip than some clip points I've seen. So, yeah, the clip is not sharpened. So let's see if we got our edge back yet. And it looks like, yeah, we did. It's much, much better. You could see how long it took to get it back to this point. Not super fast, not super long, but we got it back there. I will say not quite as sharp as one before I started, but it's close. Now we're in the raid. I'm going to do some chopping on this 2x4. It's raining, so that's why I'm inside this large tube here. Feels good wearing gloves and holding the knife, though, for sure. Kind of holding it farther back on the handle, doing some chopping. I feel like there's not quite enough weight on the knife to be a super good chopper. But, you know, you can tell. We're chopping for sure. And this knife is just so beefy that I don't feel bad doing this to the knife, because I know it's going to be fine. I know for a fact it's not going to break, you know. So that's, I don't know, I think that's kind of one of the charms of these big cold steels is you don't have to worry about them failing on you or about them breaking. They're just not going to, unless you're doing just crazy stuff. But anything like this, there's no way. There's no way it's breaking or failing. Not a chance. If I spent enough time, I would get all the way through this 2x4, but I didn't have time. I gotta clock in and start working. A little bit of stabbing. It's pretty thick towards the tip, so I felt okay doing a little bit of prying there. So it did well. And you'll see, I'm going to pull out a piece of paper here. After that chopping, we are still pretty sharp. So I think the leather, the polypropylene rope, the strap, that was really hard on the edge. But if you're doing wood-related chopping and cutting, it's not bad at all. The edge retention is not bad at all. You can see we're not super sharp, but definitely not as damaged as it was after all of the previous cutting we did. Because we are still able to slice the paper. Sometimes. And just feeling it, yeah, I can feel there's still some bite left in that edge. So that's cool. Definitely no chipping, no rolling. The edge looks perfect. The DLC coating held up very well. I don't see any scratches or marks on it. When I was walking back to the shop, I saw these logs. I decided to do a little bit of knife throwing. Nothing crazy, but just to test out the tip. Make sure nothing was going to chip or roll or anything like that. Definitely did not. This thing's tough as nails, man. Now, one more paper test after all that. It's not bad. It's not bad. If you go slow and make a little bit of a sawing motion, it's cutting paper. So, I don't know. You know, I honestly haven't tested a whole crap ton of S35VN. I've tested more like S45VN, really. But I think as far as S35VN goes, it seems to be possibly a little... Well, I don't want to say that. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think the edge retention is pretty typical for S35VN. Possibly not quite as good as some S35VN I've tried. But overall, this is just a beefcake of a knife, a hard-use knife, epic. It feels good in hand. It's just epic, man. It's really epic. So thanks for watching, folks. Please like the video before you head out, and I'll see you in the next one.